shifting curtains of mist, the Mary Celeste floated silently across an ocean that held its breath, sails heavy with secrets too dark to speak about. Lanterns flickered weakly, illuminating empty corridors and cabins haunted by whispers of passengers never officially recorded. Rumors suggested the ship had a destination unmarked on any map, an island known only by those who traded in shadows and unearned privilege. At the helm stood a lone figure, his face concealed but unmistakably familiar. A man whose wealth and influence kept his darkest sins adrift and out of sight. A man who himself would become a ghost, much like the Mary Celeste itself. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein has made his return to Red Thread once more each week. What wacky scenario will Jeffrey Epstein find himself in next? Of course, he's connected to the Mary Celeste.
Usual, though. At least it's ghosts we're talking about now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's dead, so yeah, I guess he's a ghost. He's a time-traveling ghost who traveled back in time to pilot or haunt the Mary Celeste.
It makes less sense. It makes even less sense.
Yeah,
All
why
right,
not?
fair enough.
Who cares? I gave up halfway through that. That's what you should expect. Hello, welcome to Red Thread. That's what you should expect from the Red Thread. Jeffrey Epstein and also giving up halfway through. I couldn't imagine anything grosser than getting down and dirty on a 4-month, I don't know how long boat trips are, but halfway into one of these long Atlantic Ocean, boat trips, basically.
Oh, when you think about it, what? You're just fucking amongst some rats. There'd be very little difference between that and having sex in London Tower, hey?
No privacy at all. In fact, I'm sure the other sailors would go probably out of their way to watch, if they could, watch it through like peepholes and stuff. Just the scent of I don't know where people even shit on boats. They shit over the side. Where do they shit? Is there a shitting place? Like a corner of the ship that they use to shit?
I reckon it's a bucket and you chuck it out. That'd make
that would make more sense.
What, you think that they've made some sort of pinball machine on the exit? I mean, it's funner. It's much more fun.
I have no idea. I don't know the, how boats work.
Especially in the 1800s. You're really asking the wrong man.
They could be powered by shit for all I know. You have to keep shitting to keep it going.
What when the winds are down?
Yeah.
You got to use your own.
Yeah. Which in of itself is a pretty clearly defining element of the story, right? If the lifeboat has been, cut away from the ship, immediately kind of clear what happened, right?
Well, it depends how many crew there are.
Well, I think around
is this
10.
large? 10 crew.
Yeah, I think it was rather small. I'd have to look. It's referred to later on in the document.
Mystery solved then. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Red Trip. We'll see you next week.
The lifeboat is gone.
Quick, wasn't it? Yeah.
I wonder why.
Leave that, in true Red Thread tradition, leave that very obvious point that completely nullifies the last 3 hours until the very last sentence. But
well, maybe a ghost took the lifeboat and sailed off with it. We don't know.
Yes, we'll carry on to find out.
He knew the process that needed to be undertook in order to make this all legal and stuff.
Yeah, and then there would have been actually laws and institutions set up for this very specific, odd circumstance.
Yeah,
incredible.
Back when naval trade and stuff was paramount. I mean, I guess it still is in this day and age, but it was literally the global economy at that time. Everything was transited via these ships. It was so important. Everyone was in on it basically. So an enormous element of human history is owed to naval trade. Especially
this is
in the
pathetic.
1800s.
Are we getting lame and boomery and old now? I'm really interested in these old ships.
I want to be a sailor now.
Okay, I'm not going that far. That's
I want to fuck in a boat. That's where we're gonna have our honeymoon, Kira. It's gonna be great. Just some old rickety boat on the way to a lighthouse. It's gonna be beautiful, romantic.
The period after that would have been one of the worst, I think.
World War One.
It's a bit of a jump there, but
the Cold War.
No, the Age of Exploration would have been mad. The Cold War, yes, obviously. It goes wooden ships, nuclear age, and but I'll tell you this. The Age of Exploration would have been very fun. You didn't do anything. You just, I suppose, okay, all right. You go back to Her Majesty's court and you just say like, oh yeah, there's actually a couple more islands in the Pacific there. That's it. That's it. And then you just get to go and have this mad Chad Alpha life. That would have been their equivalent of being, like one of those guys that jumps out of planes wearing Red Bull gear. It would have been the really fun, endless dopamine addict things. Yeah. And then just sitting around with Charles Darwin capturing monkeys like it's Pokemon and then just like poking them and being like, yeah, okay, it would be fun.
We have such a colourful view of history. It was probably nothing like that. It probably was 90% like shitting on a boat and having to deal with that kind of stuff. Being lonely at a lighthouse. But I mean, the Age of Exploration version 2 could be coming up with obviously like space exploration. Are you going to throw your hat in that ring once that comes around? Are you going to be venturing out?
No, because I'm too much of a pussy. I am not the Red Bull guy that jumps out of a plane.
So even if we were experiencing the age of exploration as it is now, the 1860s or whatever, the 1850s or so on, the 1700s, the 1800s, you wouldn't be that guy, it sounds like. You would be the guy sitting at home in London being like, oh man, they're having so much fun, but I'm too afraid to leave my little cobblestone street.
Yeah, my chimney sweep business.
Yeah. So,
all right, thanks for shattering the illusion, Jackson. You really, every single one of these, you've just shat on like the entire genre of romance novels up until very recently.
No, I agree. I get it. I would like to be an explorer back in the age of discovery, but I'm also a realist, and I know that I wouldn't do it at the time. I'm too much of a pussy.
It's true.
Yeah,
I thought it was just the sea captain maybe that knew how to write.
Oh, yeah, sea captain. But I'm assuming that the guy building the boats was also pretty learned, surely.
Yeah.
I would think so, but I don't know for sure, I guess. I mean, he named it the Amazon, so maybe. I don't think he was talking about the company Amazon, that's for sure. Owned by a consortium of 9 individuals. Yeah, if it was this day and age, it would be called like the Amazon Prime, get 7 days free access or something.
7 days free access.
Sign up at my referral link on the bow of the ship. You can find the QR code. One of the Spicer brothers housed McClellan in his sickness, but he unfortunately died not long later. McClellan's body was loaded onto the Amazon and was taken back to his hometown, where his grieving new wife and even newer widow was waiting. So Kira, you were saying before this, when we were talking before the recording, that means that the very first delivery of the ship was a dead body, basically.
Mm-hmm. The body of its dead captain.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I could see how, if I was more of a ghost believer, I could see how this could potentially mean that that the ship would take on a curse, perhaps, if its very first delivery was of a dead body. Pretty cool. Anything to add?
No.
Okay. A man named John Parker took over the role of captain and continued the plan to sail the vessel to England. And that's where we get that beautiful painting from. The painting that I actually love. It's very beautiful. Paintings was so really much cooler back then. Now if you want to find a painting, it's always like furry art or something. No paintings are ever made anymore without some kind of sexual element. At least in my circles. I've never seen a painting.
What a hard and fast rule.
It has to be
it must be really uncomfortable doing art class in high school, hey?
It's not art unless I get hard while looking at it, I guess.
It's not art. This is not.
So there were 7 crew members along with the family on the voyage. The first mate, who was the second in command to the captain, his name was Albert Richardson, and the second mate was a man named Andrew Geiling. There's no
really?
2 L's. So
they both sound like real estate agents to me.
Yeah, true.
They're Geiling and Richardson.
Yeah, or a law firm, maybe.
Yeah, law firm, but I wouldn't go to them.
They had a newly married cook named Edmund Head, and then for the crew...
What was that? Such a shit name.
Edmund Head? You don't like
Head. That? No.
Why not?
Whose last name is Head?
You haven't met my family. George Foot.
George Foot. I do like the little pause of hesitation.
I was trying to think of a first name. I knew I wanted to go with Foot. I just couldn't think of an actual first name.
I know, but it did make it sound like you were genuinely trying to make up
A body part?
a name. Just a name, just try and doopy or something.
Trying to make it believable.
Mr.
Mr. Foot.
Mr. Pancreas.
Oh, man. What's happening? This is a mess.
I don't know. Yeah, hang on. So, yeah, Edmund Head. This,
yeah, not George Foot. You know what, he's not actually a part of the story.
Podcast really is? You know what this podcast really is? It should just be renamed Ranking Historical Names, the podcast. That's all we ever do.
Chapter 4, The Ship of Mysteries. First mate of the Dei Gracia, Oliver Devoe, along with second mate John Wright and crew member John Johnson. Come on. It's not a name. John Johnson. That's cruel. I hate when people do that.
This is just another one of Jackson's made-up names.
Yeah,
you just put that in the script as a decoy.
Man. John Johnson. Come on. So they were tasked with boarding the Mary Celeste and reporting back on the status of the ship.
I'm really banking on the ghost one. Come on.
All right.
Look, doesn't seem like pirates to me. And
it's not giving pirate vibes.
It's not giving pirate vibes. I will admit that the lifeboat being cut adrift does somewhat put a spanner in the works of the ghost theory. But as we have established, it is a poltergeist,
exactly.
And maybe it did that to cover its tracks.
Poltergeists are known to disconnect lifeboats to make it look more suspicious than it actually is.
They do it all the time.
There you go. I've never heard that before in my life, but I will trust a man that is so good at Trivial Pursuit to have this very rare knowledge.
The classification of poltergeists. They're very well documented. All right, so luckily for you, our first category here. Oh, actually, Kira, do you have any idea personally? Well, I guess as a researcher, you kind of know already what the most likely theory is.
Yes, I know what the most likely theory is, but I like to think.
Do you have a different theory
squid.
to the most likely?
No, it made a lot of sense to me, but also I liked somewhere I read that it could have even been a swimming race gone wrong, and that one made me laugh.
What's the idea behind that one?
Like they went out and did a little swimming race around the boat, and then it just went very bad.
So they all.
Why would you do that?
They all decided to just swim around the boat. That's the idea.
At once.
There wasn't really much to the theory, understandably why, but it did make me laugh.
That's fucking stupid. We're all going to do a swimming tournament around the boat, and then they all drowned because they couldn't get back on board.
Man, okay. How could you come up with a theory that's stupider than ghosts?
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
But I believe it wholeheartedly.
So that's your theory that you're sticking.
Yeah. Kira found my theory online, it sounds like. So, yeah, of course, we can't ignore the creatures of the deep sea.
No, we can't.
However, the chance that a kraken may have attacked the boat at the time, while more believable than now, is it more believable?
I don't know why is that true? Why is that chucked in as just a statement of fact?
They've got extinct now, of course. Why more
As
believable then
the
than
modern
now?
kraken is more shy. What? Why is that more likely? Why?
It was only active in the 1800s.
That's the other thing as well. I think the 1800s wasn't when it was most active, was it? Was it just like in Nordic times?
Yeah, no, just specifically the
Viking
1800s.
ages. Okay, because it's just closer to Vikings than now. Okay, all right.
It's like while more believable than now is probably due to like overfishing, I guess. Then we overfished the krakens to a lower population, maybe. Yeah, but the chances of this being true is still rather slim, considering the fact that there was no evident damage to the ship, and considering the fact that the crew would have likely not used the escape raft in event of kraken due to the escape raft being considerably smaller than the vessel itself. If an enormous kraken was attacking them, I mean, that is
I
true.
like how you've really put like a lot of thought into debunking this one. You really
It's all to do with the kraken.
Oh, really? All right, let's take this one to its logical conclusion.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Think about it. If you are getting attacked by a kraken, why would you then get in the smaller ship next to the ship?
That's what I'm saying.
Look, I get it. I know if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. It's just funny that you guys have thought about it to that extent. Like, there was no other point before that where you thought, no, we'll hear this one out to the bitter end.
Well, as Kira said, it's less believable then than now, but I mean, there's still a chance, Jordan.
Man, all right. The Kraken one, I've got to say, the swimming one is more likely than that. This is pathetic as well that I'm even sitting here thinking about this like on a logical level. But I'm just like, why would the boat look fine after a Kraken attack?
Exactly.
Like,
there'd be a bit of damage.
Fuck it up. Like, I don't think it's intelligent enough to,
leave no evidence.
The beds to leave evidence. And then,
It's there for a day, like cleaning up after it.
I know octopi are smart.
It's got like one of its tentacles is holding like a mop. It's mopping the deck to get rid of its fingerprints.
Just over the side.
It wore gloves.
It was the one that wiped out the chalkboard. Yeah.
It wore gloves as well, so it left no fingerprints.
Ever so slightly turn the clock upside down.
Yeah. To make it look like a poltergeist. It knows it's smart enough to frame ghosts. Maybe they thought all the groaning was like a poltergeist haunting them.
And I would even argue that this is sort of a halfway point between ghosts anyway, because it's just gas escaping with scary groaning sounds.
Ghosts are just gases in the first place, right?
Yeah, I think so, aren't they? What the fuck are ghosts? Did anyone let us know in the comments? What are they? And for the love of God, someone explain to me what plasma is, please.
Plasma.
There's always just something about plasma and ghosts.
Is it plasma? Is that what it's called?
Is it?
I don't remember. Plasma is in blood, though. I know that.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, do I know that? I don't know now. No,
maybe what I'm saying isn't true then. Shit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm scared.
Plasma.
Oh, man. I don't know.
Isn't it like ectoplasm?
Ectoplasm. Sorry. Yeah, that's a completely different thing. Yes.
Yes. That's like a spiritual energy.
It's like goop left behind by the ghosts, I believe.
That's what I'm saying. Goop. What is this goop?
Well, goop is made by a crazy woman in Hollywood who likes putting things in her vagina, I think. Candles made out of her vagina smell.
The mother of Apple.
That's ectoplasm.
Oh, is that also Apple's mum? Oh my God, it comes full circle.
Gwyneth Paltrow is Apple's mum.
Ah, okay. Gwyneth Paltrow
she creates ectoplasm out of a vagina.
Yeah, she creates
like ghosts do.
She creates goop from her vagina.
Oh!
Well, that's
I'm
why she
telling
named
you,
it
I'd
goop.
rather fuck on the ship. That's really, I think I'd get harder thinking about that.
The task of pulling themselves back to the Mary Celeste would have been fruitless. They were likely going up against fierce winds, and water was quickly filling up the small boat, with the lifeboat presumably being destroyed in the attempt to reel it back into the Mary Celeste. I mean, yeah, that seems believable to me.
Brutal. Okay.
Straight up, like with facts and logic, I think.
With facts and logic, it still doesn't dismiss the poltergeist. He could have orchestrated the thing to get them off.
Maybe the poltergeist was there, but he was just surprised at what was happening. He's like, oh my God, all this alcohol.
And he went onto the lifeboat as well and died.
He's like,
I'm out of here.
He's like, guys, we got to get the fuck out of here. This shit's about to explode. I'll get the lifeboat down.